Okay, friends, welcome back to our online Bible study. We are in chapter 12 this week, and as we have said, chapter 12 is a pivotal chapter. It's kind of the hinge in the book of John, and we're to look at a story today. This is a pretty famous story, but I want to give you some historical context that I think will bring it to life in a whole new way. Okay, so we're looking at 12 through 19 today of chapter 12. Chapter 12, verses 12 through 19. I'm not going to read it. I'm going to trust that you're going to read it. But let's talk about what's happening here. So there is royal imagery all over the place here. Jesus is standing on the Mount of Olives overlooking the city of Jerusalem, and he's getting ready to walk in. And people are waving palm branches, and they're shouting, Hosanna. And all of this is tied to imagery of the Messiah, which is Greek for Christ, which is English for king, like anointed king. So people are recognizing, the question is, who is Jesus? They're recognizing him as their king. And the reason that he gets on a donkey is because everybody knows Zechariah 9, and the Messiah would come into Jerusalem riding on a donkey. Okay. He probably didn't ride the donkey long. He probably didn't ride it down the hill. He got on it just like it's symbolism, kind of saying, yeah, you're right. I am the king. He's coming in from the east. Okay, that's where the Mount of Olives is. He's coming in from the east. What we know from history, and we know from some of the biblical account also, is that there is another person who's rolling into Jerusalem that week, and that's Pontius Pilate. Pilate doesn't live in Jerusalem. He's the governor who oversees this area on behalf of Rome. He lives in Caesarea, which is on the Mediterranean, northwest of Jerusalem. So he comes in. He enters the city from the east. He would have entered from the west. He would have entered with great fanfare. He would have entered riding on a stallion. There probably would have been music. Lots of people gathered. Comes in to great fanfare and with great military power behind him. Why is he in Jerusalem? He's in Jerusalem because they're getting ready to celebrate the festival of Passover. He's there for the same reason that Jesus is. But he's there not to celebrate the festival of the Passover. He's there because the festival of the Passover is when the Jews remember what? They remember their God saving them from an empire that at the time was the greatest empire in the world, setting them free from that empire. Passover is a celebration of God, through Moses, setting the people free from Egypt. So if there is a time of year when the Jewish nation would get all hopped up on the idea of starting a revolt and freeing themselves from the greatest power in the world at the time, which is Rome, Passover is the time when they would do that. So Pilate is there, riding in on his stallion, to remind folks, don't even think that your God might do for you now what you believe your God did for you then. So you've got Pilate riding in from the west, Jesus riding in from the east, and you've got this image of this great conflict. What is going to happen? Some people think that Jesus is likely going to raise an army. What somebody pointed out to me the other day, I never thought about this, is that one of the things that might have spooked folks is if Jesus can raise Lazarus from the dead, think about what kind of army he could raise. Actually, I'm thinking about this right now. Michael Barnett, one of the people on our staff, pointed that out to me. On the Mount of Olives, in the Kidron Valley, between the Mount of Olives and Jerusalem, think about this for the first time now, was an ancient graveyard, still a graveyard today. And Jesus could walk through there and raise an army, right? If he can raise Lazarus. So what's going to happen? I mean, is Jesus going to come and start a war? What's he going to do? There's an interesting thing here. After the Zechariah passage, which is, Fear not, daughter Zion, behold, your king is coming sitting on a donkey's colt. It says that his disciples didn't understand these things at first. What did they not understand? They certainly understood the imagery of him saying, yep, I'm the king. They certainly got that. But what did they not get? That's Zechariah 9:9. Here, this is Zechariah 9:10. Maybe this is what they didn't get. I will cut off the chariot from Ephraim. A chariot's like think about a tank. And Ephraim is a part of Israel. I'm going to take the tanks away from Israel. And the war horse from Jerusalem. So I'm going to take again, another instrument of war away from Israel. And the battle bow shall be cut off, and he shall speak peace to the nations. This is about the coming king. So the coming king will speak peace to the nations. He shall rule from sea to sea and from the river to the ends of the earth. So this coming king, this Messiah, this Christ, this anointed king will indeed rule. But he will rule with what? Peace. He will not come with war horses, with bows. He won't come with chariots. He'll come with peace. So maybe that's what the disciples didn't get. Yeah. He is the king. But he has not come to raise an army and to do battle against Pilate. No. He is a king that has come in peace, that will peacefully give his life over to the forces of violence and wickedness and evil and death. And through that sacrifice, that is how he will win. And that is how he will rule as a king of peace. So I'm out of my time. Okay. But in that cool context, you've got this view of all of the power in the world. And you've got this humble guy riding on a donkey who is equipped with a power that is greater than the world. And when he gives his life over in peace, he then reigns as the risen king who still brings peace to the world. So if we're looking for a question, how are we resisting the temptation to act out of violence, whether that's physical violence or verbal violence? Or how are we resisting the temptation to get caught up in the way that the rest of the world does stuff and instead walk in the way of Jesus, which is the way of peace? Okay. Good historical context. Didn't think so much about how to tie that to our personal lives, but I think that you can get there. So God bless you, friends. Keep with the reading, and I'm going to be with you again tomorrow.